What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Switch Talk. I'm incredibly excited because I'm on vacation. In fact, we're all on vacation.
Woo!
This is the perfectly pocket-sized podcast where we talk about the latest and greatest Nintendo Switch games, this hybrid console that has stolen our hearts and minds. We want to keep it to 30 minutes or less so we can be part of your schedule. We know you're super busy. It's the holidays. You have so much going on, but we really appreciate everyone who listens, everyone who subscribes to us on iTunes and YouTube and all the tubes and everywhere. So please look us up and tell a friend, okay? Now, today is a very special day because I guess it's our holiday episode because it's the last episode we're going to do before the end of the year. So happy holidays, everybody. And we have a very special guest. So I wanted to welcome her and give her a chance to plug everything that she does and let you know where you can find her. Janet is joining us today. So Janet, take it away, please. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's really exciting to finally be on this podcast. I've checked it out a lot. I love just kind of the little snippets and windows into the games you guys have covered, so I'm excited to be here. A bit about myself. I've been writing about video games for about 2 years now. I've written for a couple places. I started with mobile games, then I moved to AAA and indie stuff, so I've done video game reviews, think pieces. Right now, I'm mainly working on doing more think piece opinion articles. I currently write for Nerd Much. I have a YouTube channel. I previously did a YouTube project with my friend Jess called Bit by Bit. So right now, my current stuff is going to be on Nerd Much on my YouTube, which is under the handle Gameonysus, which is spelled Game Onysus. And my Twitter and Facebook is also Gameonysus, so you guys can follow me on there. I've dipped into a lot of different projects. I've done news stuff. I've done vlogs. I've done like Nintendo Switch case reviews. So I'm kind of have my feet in everything a little bit related to games, and especially Nintendo, because I'm a huge Switch fan. So that's kind of been my life right now, mainly with gaming.
That's excellent. So I definitely want to welcome you to the show. It's great to have you. We always enjoy when we can get more perspectives, and obviously we've seen your work around, so we definitely wanted to have you on. So welcome, Janet. And I'm very excited because we have a really cool game that we're going to discuss with everyone today, and that's Brawlout. Now, Brawlout, if you've seen it or checked it out online or any of the videos, it's basically a Smash Brothers clone thing, and it's super exciting because it's kind of filling that hunger that we all have for something like that on the Switch right now. So we're going to go ahead and discuss and kick it around, and I think the most important thing that we want everybody to hit on is let people know if they should pick it up or kind of wait on it and pass. So Clay, why don't you take it away? What do you got to say about Brawlout?
All right. Well, if you're looking for something to entertain yourself while you're listening to us talk, you can make an easy drinking game. Just drink every time we say the word Smash Bros. So obviously that's what everybody is comparing this to, because this is a multiplayer, battle, knock the person off the edge, or get their percentage up so that they're easier to knock off the side or whatever. And so there's a lot of parallels. There's a lot of things that are very similar. But at the same time, there's a lot of things that they do differently, things that they chose to kind of change up. But the first thing I want to hit on is kind of what visually pops for this game, what you see when you first start off. Because I was excited about this game, but really I had no idea what to expect as far as the characters, other than what you kind of see on the first image. And so with this game, they decided to go with a kind of an animal character kind of style for the most part. There's a couple non-animal characters, but I think the animal idea was actually pretty brilliant. I thought that it was a cool way to come up with something different, because obviously Smash Bros has these characters that we've known and loved for many years, and so these guys are starting completely from scratch. And so having monkeys and lizards and birds and stuff, I just think that was really cool. So right off the bat, I think it's got something going for it.
What drove me crazy, like when talking about the game, like just getting my own notes, was what makes Smash Brothers what it is. And you go right away to the characters, and I think that that's a huge part, because the game makes some very interesting decisions and changes up the formula in certain ways to I guess I guess just to do it, just to like see what they could add to the game to kind of freshen the experience up. And I was trying to think about like what elements could they not mess with. So I guess the characters are the key, because when you're fighting in Smash, I mean, the thing that draws people is the recognition of everyone that you're using, but also like the fun to it and the utility of knowing kind of what people are going to do. When I booted it up, just like Clay was saying, it was a little unexpected, because it's like, okay, it's really important that I fall in love with the characters. And at first glance, I couldn't tell what each little animal guy was going to do. Some of the story notes, the very light text in it, the dialogue between the characters pre-fight, tells you a little bit about their backstory, but disappointingly, you don't really know too much about them aside from how they look in their name and their moveset and the little that's revealed there. So I would say that character-wise, things were a bit lacking, just in, not that I wasn't excited that it was something different, like animals and the powers that they had. Those are great, but it does lack that special, oh, I know who this person is. Janet, what did you think about the characters? What are your thoughts about the roster that they're getting in this game?
I really like the roster. I think, definitely what characterizes, like you guys said, Smash is that it's not just a fighting game. It's a fighting game with these characters that you love, and it's this idea of, like, wouldn't it be hilarious and goofy if they were all pitted against each other? And even though some of the characters are, like, less distinguished, I really love that the addition of characters from indie games in this, because this recently got, I don't know if it was just, like, an update or a patch, because I don't think it was originally in there, but we have Juan from Guacamelee, and we have the guy from Hyper Life Drifter. So having those indie characters really helped make it feel like heartfelt for me, because it was kind of like, oh, here's like somebody that I know, and it does kind of give it that feel of like we've seen other kind of Smash clones where they just like throw in like, random Sony characters or things like that. But I think the fact that they're indie games makes it, I don't know, a little bit more approachable to me, or like welcoming or refreshing to have like indie characters enter a space that is usually reserved for like AAA, really well-known characters. So I really like that aspect of it, and being able to see them in, a different world, in a different context, and to like bring like them center stage, I thought was really cool. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, along with the way each of them has kind of their own special moveset that is like linked to who that character is. And I thought like the animations really also helped kind of flesh out like who the character is, in terms of whether it's like kind of like a humanoid animal, or whether it's like Juan having like the chicken, or the Hyper Life Drifter character, I'm not sure if he has a name because I actually haven't gotten to that game yet, having like that like swooping sword power. So I thought it was like really well done in terms of not just what the lineup was, but how the lineup was presented and how it functioned.
I think it must have been a challenge for them to think about who to put in there, as far as, okay, we have a fresh slate, so we're not locked into what can Mario necessarily do, or what could, a character like Wario do in a game, because that's kind of the way that I'm sure Nintendo had to approach that. But with their new original characters, it's kind of like, okay, what do we want it to be functionally? And I wonder which way that they, worked forward or backwards. And I agree that the indie characters, I believe, are the most well thought out move sets, because it feels like the moves really fit them. The Drifter is the name of the character from Hyper Light Drifter. I guess that's just what they named him.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I had no idea he was from another game. I thought he was just an awesome character.
Oh no, Hyper Light Drifter. If you haven't played it, check it out. And he feels, as far as playing him, like just like Link. And Guacamelee, like. Juan is his name, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
When he does his lunge, he becomes the chicken, which is like, a big part of that game. It's, if you've played the game, you can have this transform power where you get small and become a chicken and like run around. It's going to play a big part in the sequel, Guacamelee 2. And I think that those were those moments where I was like, whoa, this is so great. What did you think, David, about, anything about the characters? What were your thoughts?
Well, besides the Guacamelee character, I didn't even realize anyone else was from another game, so I'm glad you guys brought that up, because that was one thing that I was going to kind of bring out about this game, is that it is absolutely the best non-Smash Brothers game of this sort of genre I've ever played. But I know I was kind of feeling the same way as like, are these characters as fun to play? Because what makes Smash Brothers Smash Brothers? Is it the gameplay only or the characters? And the characters do play a big part, but I think that's definitely, making me warm up to it a little bit more, knowing that some of these people are from other games, and this series could potentially be a cool launching point to get all these small indie characters into a fighting game that plays like Smash Brothers. Because, if they didn't do that, if they just did completely original characters, I think you run into the problem of when Smash is on Switch, is anyone going to pick this up again? Is this just a stopgap between, when the next Smash game comes out? But I'm hoping that they keep adding more characters, and this kind of turns into like a thing where we can have, indie character after indie character sort of joining the brawl. I think this game could have like a really sort of interesting future where it's lives side by side with Smash Brothers instead of getting completely replaced by it. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely. I got definite Killer Instinct vibes. Just the way that fighting games are released these days, you really try to have a stream of content. Initially, there's only a very small roster. I want to say there's 6 originals and 2 guest characters and 3 stages. So that's something we could talk about probably a little more later when we get to some of the negatives. But when you boot it up, I saw the store where you can unlock knockouts, and like when you hit a character and score points by knocking them outside the purview of the stage and to the edges, you can change what that looks like, which there was like a black hole option, like a making money option, all these things and fresh ideas there. And then you're unlocking character skins and actually different brawlers, which I'm not really sure are so different from the original roster. Please, Claire.
They're not. They're literally the same characters. They're just
the unlockable characters or
are
brawlers,
the same characters,
but reskinned, right?
Right.
Which
I didn't know that until I read that, and then I looked at them and I was like, yeah, that's right. They just look a lot different, but it's the same moveset, same character.
Which is interesting.
It's weird.
It worries me a little bit. I mean, why, and especially the stage selection, there being only 3 stages initially, and you having to complete objectives or do well at the game in order to earn crystals or coins to unlock such things. It seems very scant, like very not too much there.
Yeah.
And go ahead, David.
I think the game has been in like Steam early access for a long time before it even came to
good.
Switch. And I think it's obviously a pretty small team that's working on it, so I think it's a little bit more forgivable. And I'm just really impressed that they made the gameplay feel so good. Yeah. I think it's kind of clear that they're just trying to, get a gameplay hook in right away with little content. So I think they kind of had to get some stuff that's kind of just clones and stuff like that.
Let me say something. Sorry, Dave, I don't mean to cut you off. Tony, replying to what you had to say with like unlocking levels and stuff, if you stick to a specific character and you play them long enough, you kind of level them up, and then you unlock certain things. You get piñatas, you get coins. But then further down, I noticed, at least on some of them, I don't know if it's all of them, you unlock levels. And so I think that's neat because it encourages you to focus on a specific character, or maybe, I want this level, and so I got to go play with this character that I don't really care to play with because it's a porcupine and I don't really care about porcupines. And so I think it does seem kind of like tied behind things, but at the same time, I think it encourages you to kind of branch out and play with characters you wouldn't necessarily play with. So I can see both sides of it.
I'm sorry. My first thought was that I really enjoyed that there was something to do, that there was those unlockables, because in Smash, you would unlock, some trophies and things like that. And it was nice, but I felt like this initially having to play more to unlock things was going to give me like that carrot and the stick and give some longevity to the game. Janet, what were your thoughts? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good. I think one thing that I would have liked to see cleaned up a little bit, and granted, I played a lot of the local multiplayer, and then I did a little bit of stuff with the AI, and then I tried online. But I didn't do a lot of trying to unlock the stuff yet because I just hadn't had time. But I feel like there's a lot going on in terms of the interface and like what you can do as like a single player in the game, which could be good, but I think like the way it's set up is a little bit off-putting because there's like coins, and then there's also gems, and then there's also a piñata, and then there's also like something else, and it's a little bit hard to completely navigate in a way that I'm not a big fan of. So I do like that there are things to unlock. I really like the character aspect of it and like this idea of leveling up a character because kind of like Clay said, right, it encourages you to branch out, but then it also like makes like every match feel meaningful, which I think is cool, especially as someone that plays a lot of local multiplayer and doesn't necessarily always do the campaign and fighting games. Like, it's nice to be rewarded for that because I'm like, this is hours of my gameplay time, and it's nice to like see that as something. So even just in a few matches, I could see like the dial kind of moving up on my characters, which was really cool. But yeah, I just wish it was a little bit more clear cut. I know a lot of games have kind of like daily challenges and like, you know, random things here and there, which I'm a big fan of. Like, I loved that in like Rayman Legends and Origins and stuff, but I just wish it was a little bit more organized because as someone that got this game and kind of is just like, all right, how do I get the rest of these stages so I can just not really have to play it again and just do local and have all the stages? It's like I had a hard time easily finding what the answer to that was. I'm sure if I just Googled it, it'd be pretty simple, but I feel like I shouldn't really have to do that. I just wish you could like maybe hover over and have it say like, what are my routes to getting this? But yeah.
I mean, Smash Brothers kind of does the same thing. Like, they don't tell you how to get all the characters or stages.
I think there's like actually like usually, well, I don't know. I haven't played the modern Smash as extensively as I did Melee or however you want to pronounce it, but I know for like, you know, Smash on the GameCube, it would say you had like 2 or 3 options, and like one was to do like literally like hundreds of thousands of like regular matches, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go that route because I like, you know, just playing local,
right?
Or do like 100-man melee and stuff. So I just wish it was a little bit more like clear on how I could get the things, because even Smash, at least the old one for sure, I'm assuming the Wii U one as well, but I'm not positive, so don't quote me on that. But yeah.
So it's interesting in the era of microtransaction loot box pushback that they went that route. I did get these kind of ugly vibes of where Destiny has the too many currencies things happening. So as you progress and you earn experience points, you're gaining coins, there's crystals, and then you can buy what's in effect a different kinds of loot boxes. So there's 3 types of piñatas with different either items, brawlers, or little visual flares, you could call it. And you're right, it was kind of confusing to me as well. So I see a little Destiny loot box in there. I see a little mobile game microtransaction, too many screen things in there. It just feels like a product of a meshing of a lot of things. Once we spend more time with this, maybe that will turn out to be well done. Maybe it won't. I can't say that it's not well done at this time from spending just a couple days with it. But, you know, it is interesting. A lot of interesting decisions. Clay, speaking positively really quick, I mean, this is a Smash Brothers clone. Is it worth picking up? Like, what's really great about the game if you could pick one thing that surprised you?
Well, to be honest, the first day I played this game, I didn't much care for it. And I was kind of nervous. I was like, well, okay, I dropped some, you know, decent amount of money. It wasn't too expensive, so I'd say that's I think that's about right where I would have wanted it to be. So I think any higher it would have been too much, especially with all these, you know, piñatas you can buy and stuff. But after the first day, I think I started to enjoy it a lot more, and now I really enjoy it. So yeah, I guess I'm trying to think of what the main over positive thing would be, other than the character design. I like that it has online play, even if it isn't great as of yet. But at least out the gate, unlike certain games, NBA Playgrounds, it has online.
Don't go there.
She likes it. I don't know why.
I do.
I appreciate that they at least went for it, and I think it needs some time. So I don't know, dude. I'm trying to think of like the overall positive thing on it. I've got some nice negatives sitting here in my holster ready to fire off.
We'll get there.
Yeah,
Clay, Mr. Negative.
Don't we always?
Oh yeah.
Well, let's go to you, David. So anything overwhelmingly positive that you can say about the game? Anything that surprised you? Any interesting decisions you think they made and changes to the formula that work?
I think probably the best thing about it, I mean, it probably is the obvious thing, but just the fact that it plays so much like Smash without feeling janky and weird, but still keeping a little bit fresh. Like, I was expecting it to like, once I got into it, it just wasn't going to play. Like, it would feel weird being so used to Smash, and then I just wouldn't like it. But I thought the fact that you can just kind of pick it up with the Smash skill set, and it kind of transfers over, and the things that they change don't really completely throw you off to the point where you feel like you're learning an entirely new game. So that's the biggest thing for me, and I don't know can I go into any negatives or positives?
Down, boy, down. All right, give me 1 second. All right, Janet, anything overwhelmingly positive that you'd like to say? Anything surprising?
Yeah, I'll just I definitely agree with what David said. That would have been mine, right? You just can pick it up and you don't have to, the point of entry is so low. Like, if you've played Smash, you can just jump right in. But I hate when people just repeat. So I'm going to try to think of something else. I think for me, what I really enjoy is these special movesets. So the way it works is you're fighting and you build up kind of a little meter as you get hits in. And then you click the top, all the top buttons like L, R, etc. And you can activate your special. And then it's just kind of like a little bit of a power boost. And it's like a more powerful hit. And every special is different for every character. So I thought that was really cool because if we're thinking of what makes games like Smash and games that are in that fighting genre good, in addition to, recognizable characters, ability to do casual or intensive combat, in terms of how hard it can be or how challenging or how skilled you can get. The other thing that people, or at least for me, I like is kind of I don't want to say gimmicky because it has a negative connotation, but for me, which competitive Smash players might get mad, but I like that there's items in Smash. I don't always play with items.
I do too.
Depending on what I want to go for, right?
Pokeballs
if we're
on only.
Yeah, let's go hardcore. Or you put 80 Pokeballs
bats
in there. Exactly, right? I really enjoy playing with items. I almost always do unless someone doesn't want to, and then I'm down to not do it. But and this doesn't have that in there, which is kind of the thing I kind of missed about Smash, the craziness. So the special kind of makes up for that for me. So that'd be kind of my gem that no one's mentioned yet. It would be these special movesets.
The combat in general, to mix it up, people are talking about the combos that you can execute, and with some simple button presses, a lot of them are just main attack, and then special, but you can juggle people a little bit more than you can in other games. That's something that I've seen people comment on online, and for them creating original characters and original special moves, some of them are a little interesting. One creates a sand storm that kind of, or I guess it's quicksand, that's kind of sucking down and pulling the player and keeping them stuck. And then another one is the monkey has this thing where you kind of the scorpions get over here, and you can bring them closer to you.
Oh, the weird chain?
Yeah. So he has this thing that he's whipping around. So there are some interesting decisions there. I think that in seeing some of the cool things that were done, it makes me wonder about where Smash Brothers could go if they kind of got outside the box and let the characters branch out. Mario always gets a pass because he has so many games he can kind of pull from, but a lot of other characters are again stuck in this moveset. So a lot of interesting decisions there. The rage meter that you were talking about, Janet, is interesting. I felt like anything new that was happening was generally a good decision. And, but they also stuck to the formula enough where they're okay, let's stick with what works. So characters, fighting. Let's get to the negatives, because if I don't, I know Clay's going to lose it. So Clay, again, we don't have too much time, but what are some of the main negatives?
All right, so I'm going to say my negatives, and then I'm just going to kind of give my final thoughts as well, just all together. There's a slight frame rate skip that I'm noticing. Yeah. It's kind of weird, and it's an isolated thing, but I don't fully know how it works. The online is super rough. I played 2 matches where it was just completely lagging. I don't know if it was me or the other side, because it is peer-to-peer. So if one person has bad internet, you both do, basically. So that needs some work. The load times are extremely rough. The first match I ever got into, it just infinitely loaded. It never loaded my match, and I eventually had to reset. So just little things like that they can fix. Other than that, those were really the only kind of big negatives I had. I also wanted to mention I like that they have daily objectives. I think that's kind of cool. It's a nice thing to bring you back in every day. Overall, my last thought is I would wait, if you haven't bought this and you're on the fence, wait until January when we supposedly will have another Nintendo Direct. If you don't hear anything about Smash, then I would buy this game, because at that point they'll have some of this stuff figured out, and at that point I think the game will be probably in a much better state and play some. I think it would be awesome.
That sounds good. I think that's really good advice. And I think Smash is going to be an E3 reveal or
Probably.
Nintendo Treehouse
Yeah.
around E3, just so you know.
But at least you'll know you have like close to a year to play this before you're going to see a Smash game. So
David, give me a list. Just give me a couple things. Just go. We don't have to get in.
I mean, a lot of it I think has kind of been talked about already. A lot of the stuff that Clay said, that it feels a little beta for a game that's released right away. And there's definitely a very sort of mobile game feel that kind of gets under my skin a little bit, just with some of the choices they made, with the model they went for and all that. But, I mean, it doesn't play like one, but it still sort of gives you that vibe a little bit. But the biggest thing, I think, is what Clay said about maybe waiting for E3, is that I think really right now I see a lot of potential in this game for like indie characters and stuff, and improving. Like, I see no reason to play this if you have any access to Smash, unless you really want to play Smash Portable. Like if you use Portable a lot and you really want Smash now, I would say go ahead, pick it up. It's $20. But if you're primarily a docked player and you already have it for like Wii U or GameCube or something, I couldn't really see this being better than any of the previous Smash releases, especially with the lack of the insanity with the items and stuff that I really enjoy. It feels to me more like this was originally a PC release, and this is geared to the people who wanted the gameplay of Smash that didn't own a Nintendo console, and it does a really good job, I think, of providing that for people. And I hope they keep improving it so that it can become a side-by-side competitor with Smash. But I feel right now it feels a little bit redundant if you have any other access to the series.
I agree with you that it feels like a little bit like it's not cooked all the way, and
Right.
some of the effort's not there in the minutia. Like, there's no intro cinematic, there's not a real true campaign in single player. You're having very quick text conversations that are laughably simple and don't really give enough of the backstory. If I'm supposed to care about the characters in any way, they're not doing anything to make that really happen. And as far as how it feels, I feel like once you get off the stage, it's a little harder and not as intuitive to try to get back onto the stage before dying. I've actually set up AI
really
matches and watched AI try to get back to the stage, and have basically seen that it's not as easy and intuitive as it would be in Smash, which kind of tells me, okay, this is just a different game, and you're going to have to really focus on beating up the character, and that's really where everything's about, not so much getting back to the edge when you're trying to float back, because you don't really float, you kind of sink like a stone. So there's not good music, the very limited number of stages that are there are kind of lifeless as well. And again, the unlock system, starting with such few characters, I just feel like if there were 20 characters in this, because we're used to big rosters in Smash lately, that's the way that we should go. Janet, what are your final thoughts?
So I guess adding in any negatives that haven't been mentioned. I guess of the things that have already been mentioned, I also ran into those issues, especially the lag on online play. Online's basically unplayable. I know it's nice that they tried, but currently, I'm sure they can patch that. But I did one online match, maybe two, and it was literally you were fighting in slow motion, and it was very awkward because both myself and my opponent picked Drifter from Hyper Light Drifter, so we're both and he's a very quick character, but he was slowly moving, and I was slowly moving too. It just felt very weird. But I'm going to go ahead and say, so like kind of to link it back to your comment, Antonio, with the it feels undercooked or like not completely done. I feel like I can agree with that and see that criticism, but I feel like it's undercooked in the way that you can underbake cookies. They're not really made all the way, but they still taste kind of good because it's like you're basically in cookie dough. That's what Brawlout is. And I know this because I cannot bake cookies and they always come out like cookie dough, but they're still decent. Like you can eat it. It's not bad. It's like pretty good in a weird way. That's Brawlout. So I would recommend it for if you're like me and you're too lazy to get your Wii U out of the closet because you put it away and it's got a lot that has that big brick and you're like, I don't want to do it.
There you go.
Yeah, so if you're like that, if you're also like me and have a proclivity to kind of get a little impulse buy on the eShop, you're like, I kind of just want another game to check out, and this seems all right, like, and you don't want it, and you just hope that it doesn't suck, and that's kind of what you're shopping for. I think Brawlout's definitely a game you can pick up. I think it's also a really good game if you like that fighting genre. You don't feel like necessarily having to wait for Smash to come to Switch. It's a low entry point financially. $20 is fairly reasonable. It's not like amazing in terms of eShop deals, but it's respectable. And if you have people to play local with, that's my big thing. I think if I lived alone or lived with people that didn't like playing video games, I probably wouldn't get it because I don't get a lot of joy facing an AI personally in a fighting game. Like I get joy from local. And I played local and it was really fun. I was a bit better than the person I was playing with, so that was a little awkward and didn't match up completely. Sorry, Edwin. But I also brought it to the high school I work at for some of my students, like my middle schoolers and my freshmen, stuff like that. And I was like, oh, by the way, I have this game Brawlout. It's like kind of like Smash, but like different. And they like loved it. They were like yelling and like, so I think too, if you have like kids or you just kind of want a fun, cheap game to like play with people, I will say it's not like quite as must-have as some of the other $20 games you can get on the eShop, but if you're down for just like, this type of game and you're cool with the price and you're too lazy to get out your Wii U and you don't really feel like playing Smash for like the 80th time because you've owned it on Wii U and on 3DS, right? Then, though you're gonna buy it again for Switch anyway, then I think, I would recommend this. I would say this is not like, it's not a bad game. It's enjoyable. It's fun. It's not mind-blowing or a must-have, but it's worth picking up, I would say.
I absolutely agree. That was very well said. Janet,
Thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Switch Talk. Everyone out there, enjoy your Christmas, your holidays, your Hanukkahs. Is Hanukkah over? I don't know. And I really appreciate each and every one of you listening. We'll see you in 2018, everyone.
I'm going to go eat some cookies.